Hey, Greg.
Hey, Tim.
How's it going?
Pretty good. How are you doing?
Fantastic.
All right.
So what's new? What's going on in the world?
How about those Eagles?
I know, right?
Insane,
Unbelievable. I can't believe that happened.
It's almost indescribable.
I know. I feel like I'm lost for words.
Yeah. I'm just
unbelievable.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And the Phils.
Yeah. Unexpected.
I did not see that coming.
Yeah. But likewise, the Mets. I mean, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I know. It's baseball.
Yeah. Unpredictable, but so exciting.
So exciting.
Yeah. Fantastic.
But let's get back to why we're here.
That's right.
Yeah.
I think last episode we kind of left off a little bit of a cliffhanger.
That's right. Yeah.
The cars of our youth. Everybody wants to know what cars we were driving around with our parents in when we were kids. So I think maybe we can get back to that.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get into it.
All right. Cool.
Awesome.
All right. So my next one is and I knew what the car was as a kid, but I'm not a car guy. So as far as I could tell, it's a blue Dodge. Okay. I knew it said Colt on the front, on the grill. So I don't know if it was a Dodge or a Plymouth, but they're pretty much the same kind of car. And this is what it looked like. I mean, talk about cool.
Oh, yeah.
And
fantastic.
That was the first car I got to drive when I got my license. And let me tell you, the girls came flocking.
I can't imagine how you could keep them, away, because it's such a fantastic car.
And I didn't get a car in high school, and so my mom was so nice. So my dad used to drive my mom to work and pick her up, and I would take her car, which was that blue Colt, to school my senior year, because in Jersey you don't really get your license until you're 17. Which is, so there's none of that juniors kind of thing like got here in Pennsylvania. So senior year I got to drive that wonderful little blue Colt.
Nice.
Yeah, I got a really funny story, I think, about this blue Colt. So one of the guys that we played D&D with, Jeff, we were high school friends, and we were driving somewhere, and I grew up in the sticks of New Jersey, like sticks, and he's like, man, there's this, I think it was a bee or something was bothering him flying in the car. So he turns around and he's trying to hit the thing with like a rolled up newspaper, and he keeps hitting me with his ass. He's like trying to hit the thing, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" And of course, I start looking at what he's doing instead of looking at the road. And as I look forward, all I see is a mailbox coming directly at me, and the mailbox just explodes up over the hood, up over the roof of the car, and just mail is flying everywhere, and I'm like, uh-oh. And there's these huge gouges. Other than that, nothing, no other damage, but just these huge gouges. And so me and Jeff were like, all right, we got to think of something quick. And the standard thing, in these situations is a deer ran out in front of me. Yeah. And that's what we told them. And they're like, oh, thank God you're safe. They're like, well, at least you're safe. I'm like, yes. And they didn't find out the truth until this podcast right now.
I was going to say, Mr. and Mrs. Latch-Key may want to check your insurance records. That's funny.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have any mailbox stories to share with any of these, but the next one on my list was we had this was my mom's car. We had a Toyota Celica. I think it was like a 79, again, brown.
I was just going to say, you guys like brown, huh?
Yeah. Well, and speaking of the brown, we had the two International Scouts, both brown. The Volkswagen bus we had was orange originally. My dad and his buddy painted it brown.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
All right.
They did a great job, but I don't know, everything had to be brown. And then we had this Toyota Celica, also brown. And the thing that I remember most about that was my brother and I used to take music lessons. And we would drive, I don't know, it was probably 25, 30 minutes to get to the place we took lessons. And we were driving home from our lessons, and this, like one of those classic, like hurricane style storms kicked up like halfway home. And my mom she's not like, she doesn't love driving in the highway, let alone like bad weather and everything.
Sure.
And she was not excited about the fact that all of her kids are in the car with her and this storm is raging. And I just remember us driving, and like a limb, I'm going to say like a 3 or 4 inch thick limb, like fell on the roof of the car. And I forget, I think for a while she had pulled off the road. Like, I don't know if we were in a cemetery or something. Like, she was just trying to like get us somewhere where she felt safe.
Yeah.
And then eventually, you know, we found our way back home. But
Yeah.
I just remember this limb, and it could have been a stick. It could have been like, you know, like just a very small, but in my mind as a kid, it was this big limb.
We almost died, Dad.
But yeah, that car was, it was a good car though. That was the car that I remember the Van Halen 1984 being on like constant repeat, like everywhere we went. that cassette was playing in that car.
So that blue Colt that I just mentioned, my first driving car, no cassette.
No
radio.
No radio.
No, just a radio. Just a radio.
Actually, my very first car that I got was a Subaru Brat.
Yeah.
That had an AM only radio in it.
Ooh, spicy.
Just the 4-button, the push style with the bar AM radio.
Nice.
So yeah, the first upgrade that thing got was the new JVC radio. So.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
All right, up next for me here is the very first minivan we had. And we actually got it later in life. My mom actually found them easy to drive. So when when we were like late in high school, my mom went out and she got a minivan, and it is a white Mazda minivan. I don't know, MPV. There it is.
Okay.
And that's the best picture I could find of it on the internet. So very boxy.
Yeah, I remember those.
You know, but that was about the only foray we ever had in as a minivan growing up.
Yeah. Yeah, we never did the minivan.
No, huh?
It was all station wagons or sedans or something else, but the bus obviously was, I guess, technically a van of sorts, but not
station wagons don't, and buses, I don't think they count.
But in the vein of the station wagon, I think I mentioned before, we had the Buick Estate Wagon.
That's a beautiful car.
The woody,
that
woody
is
paneling.
wonderful.
I think it was pretty awesome. Had the jump seat in the back where you would be facing traffic. Yeah. That was always fun.
What age? How old were you when you had that station wagon?
I feel like that was probably like mid 80s, maybe somewhere around there.
10, 11, something like that.
Yeah, my little sister, she was like a baby when we had that car.
Okay.
Because I remember her car seat being in it. And I also have this pretty vivid memory of Billy Idol's Moni Moni playing in that car.
Okay.
And my little baby sister singing along to Moni Moni. And that was pretty fun.
That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, did that, I would imagine since there was and I'm just thinking about my comment about, sitting in the back and never wearing your seatbelt. Like, I'm trying to remember, like, at what point did my parents start requiring me to wear a seatbelt? And I really can't remember. I know that on highways we had to.
Yeah.
But if it wasn't like a long highway trip, we weren't wearing them. So
yeah, I feel like by that point, like mid 80s, we were definitely wearing seatbelts in the estate wagon. The bus. I mean, I have a memory of being in the bus when I was probably pretty small, being in a car seat.
Yeah. And
having this like single bar, it was wrapped in electrical tape car seat.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's wild.
I also remember, it's all like weird memories are coming back. I used to put my shoes on the wrong feet when I was really little.
Okay.
And I remember being in the bus in this really like minimalistic car seat and looking down at my feet. And then my brother looking at me and like shaking his head like, you did it again. You put your shoes on the wrong feet. Oh, that's funny.
That is funny,
I
dude.
I haven't thought about that in a long time.
There you go.
I look down now. I'm like, oh, I must shoes on the feet now. Yeah. So around the same time, my dad had a friend who was moving to Texas.
Okay.
And he had sort of a car collection of sorts. And he had this 1971 Nissan 240Z, this little two-door coupe. And he said to my dad, hey, I want to sell this thing. I don't feel like, shipping it down to Texas. Would you mind just driving it around with a for sale sign? And my dad's like, sure. So for a period of a couple months, my dad, whenever he'd drive us to like soccer practice and stuff, he was taking us in this little Nissan sports car, which looked really cool, but I think it was a pain to drive. It had a manual choke in it. So like, imagine like starting your lawnmower or snowblower with like the manual choke kind of thing. That's how this Nissan thing was, that it's manual transmission. It's got a manual choke. I don't even know. I think it probably had manual steering. Like it was like, it was like a race car. And then it ended up like my dad had parked it somewhere to, just advertise that it was for sale. And I feel like it was on Christmas. He got a call from like the police. The car got broken into. Like it turned out to be kind of like a bit of a mess. But It was cool that for a little while that it got zipped around in the
fast, right?
Little speedster.
Yeah. No, that's a nice looking one.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That is a cool car. So next up on my list was my brother's car. This was a I don't know the year, but it was a Ford Futura Fairmont.
Oh, all right. Yeah.
And we had a black one. And we called that one the Black Boat of Death. You know, we had a theme. There's a theme here, and that thing was a piece of junk, like just huge. Ate up gas. Yeah. Like there was because we had that was his car when he turned 18 or 17, and like it was so bad. You know how like back in the old days when the roof felt. Would start drooping. Yeah. And so we had to we got like wood glue or something. Like glued it back up, and you could see all of the the glue lines because we didn't know what we were doing. But he spent all this money and he put a kick-ass radio into it, so we got at least cassettes.
Yeah, that's really awesome. Well, I guess it's sort of in a similar style. My dad, for a period of time, was working at a place that they would give you a company car. So his original one was this silver four-door Ford Granada. It was a real beaut.
Yeah.
And I guess I'd go in the shop for a little while, and he got this 2-door red one with a white interior.
Wow, and that's pimping.
My parents tell me that I apparently loved this car, and I was very sad when it went away. But the Ford Granada was quite the piece.
I like it with the white interior. That's pretty sweet, dude.
Yeah. But not that dissimilar from the Futura.
They're pretty similar.
Yeah.
The Futura seems about like 5 feet longer.
So after that, my dad, he didn't stay at that job that long. He does end up, as the story progresses, he ends up going back to that same company like years later. And has a bunch of other company cars that I'll mention. But
okay,
in the interim period, he went out and bought a Mercury Capri. It was pretty cool. But again, I remember when we went to look at the car before he bought it, there was another dealership that had a very similar one, but that one had a red interior in it. And I was like, yes, get that one.
Get that car.
But he didn't get that one. He got the other one. But it still was a cool little sort of, very similar to a Mustang of the, mid 80s.
Yeah.
Pretty cool looking. So.
It's got that bottom with the silver and then the red, and then I guess that's black or blue. I can't tell from here, but yeah.
Yeah, it was a cool car.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Any other fun work cars?
Well, when he went back to the company, this was probably in the like early 90s, I think is when he went back. He ended up getting, it was a Thunderbird Super Coupe.
Nice.
Or actually the first one, I guess, was just a Thunderbird with a turbocharger in it. That the previous, I won't go into the details of the guy who he replaced, but the guy had souped this car up. Actually, I think it was a supercharger he put in. It was insane. Like this thing had way too much power, but it was this late 80s Thunderbird.
It doesn't look like it would be that fast.
But it was crazy.
Yeah.
It was super fast. And then when he got rid of that, like every 3 years they would get a new company car. Okay. So then he got, I think it was a 91, a white. This was, in fact, the Thunderbird Super Coupe version of it. And then he ended up getting a red one at some point. They were pretty cool cars. I took that to my high school prom.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, there it is.
Ooh.
And I backed it into a light stand in a parking lot.
Did you?
Not at the prom, but just I was out with my girlfriend, and I was pretty upset. And I had to call my dad and be like, "I'm sorry, I backed your car into a piece of concrete. I didn't see it." And that was, at that point, the cars started to have like bumpers that were made of, plastic instead of the big metal bumpers. So it kind of crumpled the rear end of it pretty good.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. So that was after the prom.
That was, it was like two separate things. Like I took that car to the prom, but I was just remembering that I also backed it into a parking light stand. So.
I'm trying to remember what car I took to the prom. I don't remember. What did you guys do for the prom? Did you go anywhere afterwards?
We had a friend whose parents were pretty well off, and they had this, it was like they had this massive garage, and then next to the garage they called it their breezeway. But it was like a game room from like a movie. They had a pool table, they had a ping pong table, they had an arcade game, I think.
Silver Spoon?
Seriously, like they had a crazy setup. And so there was probably 40 of us just went to their house.
Okay, very cool.
Like the girls were in one room watching Grease, and all the guys were in the game
You're not
room.
even hanging out together. You're just
So, but it was fun. It was a good time.
Oh, that's cool. We got my brother to buy us a beer ball. Remember beer balls?
Yeah.
And we rented a place down in Seaside.
Okay.
And we went there for like 2 nights.
Yeah.
I thought we were so cool. And it was about like maybe 8 or 10 of us.
Okay.
So
yeah,
it was fun.
Yeah, it's a good time. Cape May?
Not Cape May. No, not as cool as Cape May. Because that's ragers down there.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see if there's any other worth noting. Oh, we had Subaru had a series of attempts to make a sports car.
Okay.
So there was one, it was called the Subaru SVX. That was it looked like a wedge. It was
I don't know that one.
Odd looking car if you're not familiar with it. And
SVX.
Yeah. Well, the SVX the XT was the one that looked more like a wedge.
Okay.
There it is.
Oh,
so it's
I don't know that one.
Very extreme angled, almost Cybertruck kind of stuff. But that's the car that I think I mentioned when we were talking about the deer and the accidents. That's the car that I hit the deer with. So those headlights were recessed into the hood. But that was a fun car to drive until I wrecked it. And then later on there was the SVX, which was an extremely heavy car.
Oh,
it was underpowered.
You're selling me on this.
Yeah. And it had, I don't know if you can see in the picture, but there's like a bar going through the side window.
Yeah.
It had,
It
had these mini windows.
Yeah, I remember that.
It was very odd.
What was the point of that? Just to,
I guess for aerodynamics. I don't really know. It wasn't that fast of a car though, so I think it was. I don't know.
So I've always wanted to know. All right. So if you're trying to describe this to the audience, so like imagine a regular side window, but there's a strip in the middle. What part could you roll down?
Just the bottom part.
That top part wouldn't come down.
Wouldn't move. No, that was fixed. Oh. It was weird.
That is strange.
And it carried on. You can see even in the back seats, it was the same thing. It was just this like a partial window. Yeah,
that's very odd.
Yeah. I think they thought they were being inventive, and something new and exciting, and nobody else picked it up.
my very own car, the very first car that I got when I was a junior in college, and it was a Subaru Impreza.
Yeah,
and not a race car, but pretty quick.
Yeah, and
that was a fun car to drive. Yeah, the Impreza.
Was it like a little 2-door, or was
it?
Yeah,
2-door red one.
Okay, we'll have to find photos because I had a 2-door red one of this would have been right out of college when I got my first job.
Really?
Yeah. So I was driving 45 minutes to work or something like that every way. Yeah, or both ways. And I would rip through some of those back roads in that thing. And I remember one day I came into a turn a little too hot. Yeah. And mine was just I think it was just the 2-wheel drive version. It wasn't even the.
Oh, really? I didn't even know they didn't. I thought they always were all-wheel drive.
It was just front-wheel drive. And I came into this turn, and you could sense when it was getting a little bit off. The turn was a little off camber. Yeah. And I'm feeling the rear end starting to come around, and I'm like, oh, I'm fighting it. I'm trying to not, and all of a
panic.
Sudden, the car just full 360, and the rear end of the car just raked across this person's front yard, just like sheets of grass just flying. And the car like spun all the way around. Thankfully, nobody was coming in the opposite direction. And after I mowed through their yard, and then the car stopped, I'm back in my lane facing the correct direction. And I'm just like, it's like that, you get that full body rush, you're like super hot. You're like, what just happened? And the person was actually like in the, like, they must have been like up in their like front porch or something and saw this happen. They came walking down and they're like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'll come back with a shovel and I'll fix your. They're like, no, don't worry about it. And I was like, really? And they're like, yeah, don't worry, as long as you're okay.
Really?
Yeah, I was shocked that they weren't like super pissed.
Like resod my front lawn.
Seriously. Oh, it was nuts. But
you must have been shaken.
Oh, I was really shook. And what crazy is that no damage to the car. There was obviously nobody coming, and no other people were involved. Just some poor lawn that got displaced. But,
that's fantastic. That's crazy, dude.
Yeah. And then the other thing with that car, again, going to work, I was sitting in traffic. It was like a school zone, and I'm sitting there, and there's this giant truck in front of me with a massive hitch on the back of it. I'm looking right at the the connection and the hitch ball, the whole thing. And I'm like, man, if anyone ever drove into that, it would wreck their car. Not 30 seconds later,
no.
I'm now this is pre-phone and everything. So I'm just changing the radio station.
You're not,
and the sun, like a cloud must have gone in front of the sun or something. And like the light shifted. So like in my mind, I think I thought that the truck had pulled up.
Right.
Except it didn't. I just like, it's not that I was going fast. I mean, I literally went like from like 10 feet away or 8 feet away from it, but I just drove right into the back of this truck and like crunched the hood into this giant hitch on the back of this truck. And I was like, maybe that's one of those moments where you're supposed to like pay attention to it and not, get distracted.
I think you did about 10 cents of damage to that car, and how much to your Subaru?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the truck was like, hey man, I'm good. See you later. I'm like, oh. Yeah. So
that's too funny. Oh my gosh. All right, I only got one more here. This is a car that I remembered. It's like the car you remember growing up with.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And this was a silver Ford Fairmont. And it was just this monster car. I just remember being a little kid. The seats were red, like going everywhere in it. And, grocery store with my mom. And then it's like one of those cars of the earliest memories. And for whatever reason, the paint started peeling on the hood. And underneath the paint of the silver factory was for some reason underneath was red. And, we didn't get cars very often.
Yeah.
It wasn't, whatever. So we had this car for a while, and like, sure, you could spot it a mile away with the peeling hood.
That's funny. But it is funny though how certain cars, depending on the age, like it's like the car you think of as as the car from your youth.
Yeah.
A friend of mine, I think his parents had a car very similar to that. And I just remember like whenever we'd go to the movies, his mom would drive us in that car.
Oh, nice.
And the thing I remember about that car is that the rear shocks, at least in the one they had, they seemed to be overly springy. Yeah. So whenever we'd go over like a speed bump or something, it just felt like the entire car was like raking up and down, like 8 or 10 inches up and down. And we, of course, it's loaded down with 4 of us. We're all like bouncing in the car even more.
You're helping it go.
The mom's like, please stop. But, yeah. Now, the only other thing that we had a series of we would go camping and stuff. That we never really stayed in hotels when I was little, so we always needed something to pull the camper. And there was a point where my dad bought a van, like a conversion van.
No.
So we had this. It was a Ford Econoline.
That's
conversion
awesome.
van. Yeah, so it had like they were like captain's chairs that you could swivel.
Yes.
Had the table that you could put in between with like you put your soda in it or whatever.
Yeah.
That was pretty neat. And then at some point he upgraded to a Dodge Ram.
Okay.
That one had the VCR and the TV in it.
Dude.
Which was pretty awesome. So
pimpin'.
Yeah. We'd be watching Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles on our way to the shore or wherever we're going.
That's so wild. I made this joke before, but I'll say it again. Did your dad have a sticker? This van is rocking. Don't come knocking.
I don't know. I don't want to know.
I love those conversion vans. They're fantastic.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a good time.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just always thought that it's like a party, a mobile party.
When I have this, like, I don't know, call it a fantasy or whatever, that like I was going to take my kids on like the Brady Bunch trip across America in like, I always imagined I'd rent like an RV that had it was connected to the cab. So like you could be back and do like in the dining area and also be,
the true RV. Yeah.
And, here my kids are, they're getting up there in age. I don't think they have any desire to drive across America with me and the wife, but and I know logistically it would be a nightmare driving something that big across the country, trying to like find somewhere to park and like go and enjoy the places that you go, other than, dragging a Mini Cooper or something behind it. So you actually had a car
right
when you got there. But in my mind, it's really fun.
Have you seen an art like a new RV, like how they're tricked out nowadays?
Yeah, no, it's pretty awesome.
We went to some kind of outdoor show and they had the most new, the newest. I mean, they're amazing. They have the back that folds out and then a tent that comes up, so it's like a porch.
Yeah.
on the back. Now you've seen that they extend outward, and
Yeah.
it's so freaking cool.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. I have a client who he sells horse trailers where the back section is for the horses, but then there's living quarters in the front of them.
Really?
They are unbelievable. I mean, the size of the TVs they have in there, let alone like the sleeping accommodations and the kitchens. It's unbelievable. And like the slide outs, like you said, where it seems like the trailer is only this wide, but then there'll be a section that slides out 5 or 6 feet on each side.
And all of a sudden
it's huge.
Yeah.
I mean, the price tags are up there as well, but it's pretty awesome.
Well, when we hit the lottery and we go on tour with Latch-Key Dads, we'll do it in an RV.
Yeah, definitely. We'll hire someone to drive us.
Yep.
Although my daughter and I have sort of joked around that we're going to buy an old school bus and do one of these, Project Van Life. Gut it and turn it into a cool camper driver or RV. So
that's a cool idea.
Yeah, with all the spare time, we'll just get on.
Yeah, no big deal.
So, any other car stories from
I'm sure I'm missing some, but those are some of the ones that I thought of when I was thinking about me in childhood cars. You?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think we had a fair number of cars. Like looking back at it, my parents did get a bunch of them. But to the earlier point, I don't think maybe that one Scout might have been like the dealer car that was had some miles on it, but was pretty close to new.
Yeah.
But most of our cars were kind of used, cars and stuff. But they were fun. It made for great memories.
It really does. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Good idea. Trip down memory lane.
Yeah, man.
And if you guys think of any, you want to share stories of your cars you grew up with, feel free to send us an email at dads@latchkeydads.com. Well, check it out.
That's right.
Yeah. We've been talking here a while, but I think it's about time we get to the most important part of the podcast.
What's that?
The D&D phrase of the week.
The D&D phrase of the week.
For all you listeners out there, the first person to contact us with that phrase of the week wins a fabulous
Latch-Key Dads keychain.
Yeah, you had me at keychain. All right. So you just got to send it to us. You can email dads@latchkeydads.com.
That's right. Or you can reach out to us on Facebook or Instagram at Latch-Key Dads.
First person to correctly identify the D&D phrase of the week. All right, here you go. You ready?
I'm ready.
This week's phrase is sneak attack.
Sneak attack.
Sneak attack.
Well, you're going to have to be pretty close to somebody to pull off a sneak attack.
That's right. Can't get enough Latch-Key Dad content? Well, check out latchkeydads.com.
That's right, Greg. On our website, we've got a plethora of photos from each episode, as well as other interesting links to content that we talk about on the show.
Yeah, Tim, I really enjoy all the pictures that you put up there, as they really bring the episode home.
Yeah, I guess I'm not afraid to show those embarrassing photos of my childhood. So, we encourage you to check out the website, latchkeydads.com, for all that content.
Excellent. And if you have a moment, check out our shop page where we've got really cool keychains for sale. If you don't know what to get your dad for Christmas, the holidays, Father's Day, birthday, check it out. It's a cool gift. Tim, did you know that listeners should like, review, and subscribe to the Latch-Key Dads podcast?
No. But now I know.
Knowing
is out the battle.